Hi, everyone, and welcome to the final episode in the series of the AWIP podcast. As you guys know, we have spent the last few months interviewing animal welfare professionals really across the United States and across the globe. And we've had some fantastic guests, but finally, we have the one and only guest. So I'm your host, Jacob Lloyd, the Executive Director of the Animal Welfare Investigations Project. And today we have the one and only guests.
Rae Smith.
Well, how do you feel being the one being interviewed? Let's start with that.
It's a weird feeling.
I bet.
I'm excited, but I'm out of my element being interviewed. I'm always the one cracking the questions here and putting the pressure on. So,
Typical investigator. Typical investigator. How have you enjoyed hosting the podcast series over the last few months? What's it been like?
it's been really wonderful. It's been really crazy, and it's been just so cool getting to meet all of these people in animal welfare, like no matter what their job is, their role is, whether they're here in the US or Canada or Greece or just anywhere around the world. And
Yeah, I forgot that we had some others from Europe too.
yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
and it's just awesome
Awesome.
to see like how passionate people are, like no matter what they're doing. And yeah, I loved it. I did. It was a good time.
Sad to come to an end, but also, it was a great series, and who knows what's coming next, right?
Well, I think yeah, I know that there's going to be some people who are sad and who like very consistently watch this week by week, and we have, I message with people from all over and get emails and calls and messages on LinkedIn and all this stuff. I've exchanged I have like so many more phone numbers in my phone now because of this. And people I think are going to be sad, but it's like this isn't really the end of me, unfortunately. So you're going to like people are going to have to endure me
They'll suffer
forever.
you for a little bit longer.
because because you will never get rid of me from AWIP.
That's true. That's true. Well, talk to me about some highlights in the podcast series. Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, I don't think we can get through this without talking about our very first episode, which was John Fisher. He's such an amazing role model in animal welfare, and
Great
I
guy.
took the he took the prize for the longest episode. I mean, we were just going on and on a lot, about like no kill and what it means and getting into the nitty gritty. I think it
Yeah.
was actually the most viewed episode too. It was like, I think
Oh,
it's
really?
up and counting, like almost like 600 people or something, like on YouTube. I don't know what it is on Spotify, but
Yeah.
it was cool because it was like boom right out of the gate, and then like everybody wanted to see like what we were talking about and just like have these like really hard conversations about things that like make you very
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and
He did.
uncomfortable drive.
I would add that I think with his episode, it definitely felt like a boom. Like it definitely felt like that. And I think you mentioned something like, Unleashed or something, or and that was definitely John. He definitely, he let loose. So big shout out to John because that was a great first episode. Yeah, that was a great
Mhm.
episode. Any
But
others?
we had like PETA come on and
That was
talked
cool.
about the Envigo case, which was like historic. We had members from like the Humane Society of the United States come on to talk about like a puppy mill awareness day. That's what we did, one episode for that.
Yeah,
Dr. Adam Stern, who's like,
great guy. Great guy.
love him. And I don't know. I mean, I remember one episode that I did with Esther Meckler and Dr. Jeff Young, and that episode was really special for me personally
Well, I
because
remember you texting me about that, going, "Oh my God, this is who I've got on." Sorry
I
to
was
interrupt you.
so
This is
excited. I was
early.
like, I tried to be so professional and like calm and cool on there, but I was just like little schoolgirl, like this is so exciting because they're my role models. And Esther, like she's like a good friend of mine. I actually met her in person. I was on vacation like back in like September, going through the
Yeah, where did you go on vacation?
I started in Boston and then I worked my way. You just want to hear my accent. That's what everybody wants to hear. I started in Boston and I worked my way all the way up the coast to Acadia in Maine. But on the way, I was just talking with Esther one day and she's like, let's meet up. And I was like, okay, cool. And we like met in a brew house in
That's it.
Portland.
I remember.
And it was so cool. And I still talk to her to this day. It's like and Jeff Young, has always been like my idol because, he's, aside from like his TV show, like he's just been so passionate about spay neuter and, you
Yeah.
know, animal welfare and like what the right path is. That was like, I was very nervous for that episode. I don't know if I've even actually watched the whole thing like in one sitting because I'm like,
I haven't watched it, but I
oh, I don't know.
I hate to admit that, but I should maybe go and watch it. But it was so weird as well because it was like only like 2 weeks after that I ended up in exactly the same place, right? I was in Boston and stuff just like 2 weeks after. So sadly I missed you, but yeah, it was. I did see all the photos. I did see the photos.
Yeah, I did send you a bunch of photos. I was like, here, you
Fangirling.
here.
All right, cool. So you've had a good ride over the last few months. When did we start? I can't actually remember. It was.
I want to say it was in August, I think.
Has it been
when-
running that long? Wow.
Yeah. What is that, like 6 months? 8 months?
Yeah. 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. Thereabouts. How many episodes have we done? Do you know?
Like 25, I want to say.
Amazing. It's awesome. I remember when we initially discussed it, like this was your brainchild. Like we should tell everyone this because you deserve the whole credit, like for the whole thing. Because I sort of just came on, showed my face as I do for many things.
And your accent.
Yeah, show the face, show the accent, and then be like, I'm off now. See you later. And sort of left you to it, and you turned it into probably one of the most amazing media initiatives that we've done. It's been so successful. In fact, it was so successful that Dr. G, when I was at a conference in Oregon, Dr. G was sitting down at a table, and I didn't even notice, and. And I sat down at the animal law conference and she was like, are you Jacob Lloyd? I was like, who are you? I was Dr. G. And then we hung out for the rest of the evening and sending you photos and stuff. And, it was like, yeah, it was just cool because we wouldn't have made those connections without you, and also without the podcast. So you should really give yourself a lot of credit for what you've built. It's looked great, and it's been great. So you should give yourself a lot of credit.
Thank you. That's so sweet. You're so nice to me.
I try. Where next for you then? If you're not doing the podcast, where next?
So, well, you and I are planning another conference for this year. We had our first AWIP.
We should probably start planning that because we admittedly have not done much work on that.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
it's okay. It's okay. We've got loads of time.
Well, between you, throwing things together so quickly and me meticulously planning, like
we'll get somewhere in the middle.
We'll be fine. It will happen. So it's a lot of work though. Like conferences are a lot of work. So
actually, yeah. While we're on the topic of conferences, let's talk about the recent virtual conference that we did. Let's talk about that. I mean, we threw that together within like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We started having conversations with people ahead of time. Well, I had conversations
You
with
did.
people a few months ahead of time.
I was there the day before going, are you still coming?
Yeah.
Like,
And I was like, okay, is the platform ready? And you're like, I'm still working on it. I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, I can't do this. Uh, no, we got it together, and it was really successful. And we had
It
people
was.
from all different countries attending. Members of parliament and politicians, animal
Yeah.
protection officers, vets. I mean, you name it, everybody was
Well,
there.
we had, when we look at the registrants list, we had everybody from state, local, feds. There was across the board. We had in the US and also internationally. Like, we had a lot of people. Um, yeah, and that signed up for that and that have either attended live or many people watched also afterwards. I know people accessed some stuff afterwards. So you
Hmm.
know we had a lot of yeah, we had a lot of interest in that conference, and we had some fantastic speakers. I
Yeah.
mean, some really fantastic speakers. Yeah,
Well, we're gonna do it again this year. That is
yeah.
happening. But so we'll come out with the details for that. I will still be around for AWIP, in the advisory board chair, as long as you'll have me, but I don't really know how you're gonna get rid of me. So,
My pleasure.
but I
We're
have
glad
like
to have you.
a lot of other stuff. Like I love doing the podcast, but there's so many like different avenues to help
Yeah,
professionals
yeah.
and people in animal welfare. And so I think like it's a time where, I take like a different role like in person with trainings and doing webinars and
That's
stuff. And
sort of what we discussed, really, wasn't it? Was,
yeah,
maybe doing a bit more training sessions and maybe doing a bit more webinar stuff, and
yeah,
and I think that feeds nicely into the conference as well that we're hoping to get together.
yeah.
You
And I'll
know,
still be around. Like I'll still be on, LinkedIn, and I'll still be
you're still
talking with
knocking about.
people. What?
I said you'll still be knocking about.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, I
So
will.
let's take this back. So that this is you now. This is your life. You've done your podcast, which is amazing. We've recently done our conference. We've also delivered training to again state feds even attended. And also locals. So we had some amazing success with that. So let's take this back to where did you in your journey career where did you sort of begin and how did you get involved?
Um, yeah, it's kind of a wild story. So I growing up, my old childhood friend, her dad was the chief of police in our hometown, and it was a little podunk town in Illinois. So I was around, law enforcement all the time, but like honestly, my love of animals came from my mom, especially. I was that weird kid that was like, fishing, worms out of like puddles after rain so they didn't, drown. And so I wanted to combine them, but like, and so I guess there was always a part of me that knew that I wanted to get in animal welfare and be an officer and just like kick ass and, all day long. And I was like, you know what, I'm young. After I finished college, I was like, I'm young, I'm just gonna be wild. And I just left like a couple days after I graduated. I just left and went to California. And I met a brilliant woman, Alexis Wager there, and she took me on as my first role as an animal services officer in El Dorado County. And I
What
was
did you get up to in lovely California?
California was crazy. It was honestly like out of all of the places that I have been, the calls, the people was it was insane every day. Um,
So come on, where's the funny story? Emus or something is what I heard about.
Well, I mean, emos aren't really funny. I mean, it's probably be more entertaining if you watched me run away from, these emus who wanted to kill me because they will kill you.
Oh, is this like what's going into this new HBO animal control series? Is
Yeah, it
Have
is.
you
I mean,
been
it's like
watching that?
it is kind of the reality of what happens when you go on a call and it turns out to be like something that you completely you know, didn't
We're
even
gonna.
expect. But like I remember, when I was on call one night and it never fails. I get called out like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was like this rural area, and there was a call for like cattle on the road, um, which wasn't like it wasn't new. Like that happened all the time, and so I think I'm going out to herd some cattle off the road, and I show up and there's nothing there. And it's like pitch black, right? This is not in the city. This is like very rural, on random road. And I'm all by myself at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like walking around and I'm getting like pretty far away from where my vehicle is. And I can't find these cows. So I'm like, okay, I'm going home. And I start to walk back to my vehicle, and then there's a fucking water buffalo walks onto the road. A water buffalo. Like this is like I'm like, did I end up in like Africa or something? Like a fucking I swear to God. Not a big cow. It was a
Do we
water
have to bleep that out? Do
huh?
we have to? Do we have to bleep out
No,
the?
I just put an expletive on these episodes. It's fine.
Do we have to be like a professional podcast?
No, it's fine.
It's the final
I'll
episode.
just
We
put the
don't
little
care.
E for the expletive on there.
We don't care. It's the final episode.
What are you gonna do? Cancel us?
Exactly. YouTube are going to cancel us.
So there's the water buffalo is between me and my vehicle, and I'm by myself. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black, and I don't know what to do. And I don't have a gun. I'm not armed or anything. Actually, I have like my gun is in the car, but that's not helpful. And I remembered like,
Also, you shouldn't be shooting water buffalo.
well, the week prior, my captain had given us these flags on the end of a pole, like these pink flags on like a 6 foot pole. You just kind of like wave them around, and they're supposed to herd cattle. And I had taken that out of the vehicle with me because I thought I was going to be herding cattle. And I'm like terrified because there's this like 2-ton water buffalo and me, who's 5 foot tall, with a fucking pink flag in the middle of the night. I'm like, what am I going? What? I was terrified. And the owner came out of the house. The house was nearby, and he like shimmies down the driveway, and he's like, oh, like I'll get. I'm like, you need to put her in the pasture. Like, what are you doing? Like, why is she out here? And I'm asking him questions, and I swear, like, I will never forget this. And I don't remember what her name was. I'm just gonna call her Tina. But I swear to God, he goes, well, she ran away because she was upset because she didn't get enough hugs today. And I'm like, are you
So all
serious?
you needed to do was give her a hug. That's all you needed to do.
Oh my God. No, I'm not gonna hug a water buffalo. Are you insane? Oh my God. It was terrifying. Yeah. That's my fun.
Any funny experiences in Colorado so far? Has it been relatively boring?
I probably have loads of them. I mean,
I think that's the thing with this profession. You always collect weird stories,
well,
like
they are
really weird stories.
they're I mean, I don't know. I could tell like a million stories for days, but like a lot of it has to do with the people, and a lot of it has to do with like the
Yeah.
situation you're going into. Like you think that like this is whatever the call is, and then it turns into something completely different. Like I've seen too many naked people to count.
Yeah, I have those stories too.
I mean, I don't know how funny that is. It's a little traumatizing. It's never the people you want to see naked either. Yeah.
No. So do you think you're going to stay in animal control? Is this your life's passion?
Yeah, I want to get into a position where, I'm able to influence change more. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
being able to train a team, and not just animal control officers, but like, all the hard working shelter workers, and helping recruit volunteers, helping shelters and their missions, and
Yeah.
educating the public. And so, I mean, just animal. I mean, I'm not gonna like turn into a vet or anything. It's way too late for that. Although I did have somebody tell me I looked like I was 24 the other day, which is weird.
Massive compliment.
I
Massive compliment.
know.
Yeah.
It threw me off a little bit, but
If
um,
only, right?
right. At least they didn't say like, "God, you look like an old hag." But no, I'm definitely gonna stay in animal
How
welfare.
much of this episode are you going to edit out?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I'll just keep all of it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
That
Um,
should be like the trailer part at the beginning. How much of this episode are we going to edit out?
yeah, like a
That'd be
blooper
like,
reel. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be a good idea. Actually, I should probably
yeah,
do
right.
if I did all like a blooper reel for all the episodes that happened.
just,
Well,
yeah, just be like, this is the final episode, so guys, like, everything's unleashed.
Rae Unleashed. Is that what we're gonna call this episode?
That's a good idea. Let's call it that.
Okay,
Let's call it
Rae
that.
Unleashed. There we
Let's
go.
call it that. Okay, so you're going to continue on with animal control, or in this profession at least.
Yep.
Hopefully with some more influence. I think you actually have a lot of influence, but maybe a bit more. You can never have enough.
Yeah.
Do some more trainings together. We've got the conference coming up. Hell, when are we going to sleep this year?
I don't think I've slept this. What is it? The 16th? I don't think I've slept yet. I
Is that since you've known me, you mean?
Yeah, actually, let's rewind it all the way back into when did I meet you? Like a year ago? So I haven't
Yeah,
slept.
maybe longer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Crazy, right?
I know that's weird. I've known you for a year now.
It's
that is weird.
crazy. Like yeah, I think it's longer than a year. Yeah, it's been a while.
And we haven't completely annoyed each other yet.
Not yet, but there's still time. We've got a conference to organize together, right? Come on.
Then we're gonna need a break. We're gonna be like, I've seen you too much. No, I'm totally kidding. That's not gonna happen.
Okay, all right. Well, we've discussed the podcast. We've discussed some, highlights of it. We've talked a bit about you and your history and how you got into this. We talked about where you see yourself in the future, where you're going, and hopefully you can, use this experience in the podcast to show people that you can communicate with people, not just animals.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, what else do you want to say? What else do you want to what else do you want to cover? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to
This
talk
is
about.
this is your podcast. This is yours.
I want to talk about the lessons learned, and like the effect that this has had on people.
All right,
Because
let's take lessons learned. Let's take that first.
okay,
Why not? Start with a negative. No, I'm just joking.
lessons learned. I'm a very good listener. I'm not that great of a talker, but I have learned that, like, you know, you just like animal welfare is so, widespread and all encompassing. And there's so many different ideas about what people think
That's
is,
true.
humane and the right way. And we should, and there's, all these different philosophical theories about things to follow. Um, and it leads to a lot of debate, and it leads to a lot of tension and hatred, and villainizing people and stuff if they don't agree with you. They say that it's like the last thing that isn't political anymore, but it's like maybe
It
not like
actually is. Yeah.
it is. It
Yeah,
really.
very actually.
So we've
Yeah.
had some like really hard conversations on this, and some of the lessons that I learned is like
That's true.
like listening is just as important as talking, and getting your message out is actually more important for you to
Yeah,
listen. Um,
yeah. And also, I'll just add to that. If we have during the podcast offended anybody, and I'm sure we have, um, then it is just a byproduct of talking about really difficult issues and having a difference of opinion. But I think what I should say is that we are all in this together. So whether or not you're, whatever leaning you are in whatever issue you are in, I think that the point is, you know, this podcast has been about trying to get difference of opinions. These haven't been our opinions. This is not ours necessarily. I
mhm.
think there's some things that we could agree with people on, some things we would disagree with people on.
Yep.
But the point is to showcase, to show those different voices across the animal welfare world, and I think that's been really valuable to give people that platform. And I know a few people have mentioned that. They've said, thank you for, giving me an opportunity to just talk.
Yeah.
And I know,
Well,
uh,
every single guest has been really appreciative, and I've kept in contact with like pretty much every single one of them since then, and
yeah.
they're like,
I mean, and also the conference. Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry. The conference, with the reptile woman. Um, you
Tabitha.
know, Tabitha, she's fantastic. I love that woman.
Yeah.
And she was just so thankful to talk about, reptiles because it's just not something that's as widely discussed.
Yeah.
And and actually, I don't think she even realizes it, but she gave me a lot of food for thought, and she gave everybody a lot of food for thought. And I'm not even sure she realizes she gave more to us than we gave to her in terms of giving her a platform, way more
Yeah.
to us. In terms of knowledge and experience, so huge shout out to her because she's doing some amazing work in terms of that. And I think in terms of lessons learned, that giving people a voice doesn't matter what they're talking about, whether they agree with us or not, whether we agree with them or not, whatever. Um, it's that broad range. We need a broad range of people in this animal welfare world, animal rescue world, whatever you want to call it. We need a broad range of people um, because we're all working for the common goal,
Hmm.
even if we differ how to get there.
Yeah.
Even if
And
we differ.
I know that it's had a really huge impact on the people who have either watched it like on YouTube or listened to it on Spotify, because I constantly am getting emails and calls, and can I text you, and can I and messages and stuff, just wanting to
Mm,
talk about these, like the things that we talked about on different episodes, what their opinion is, how they felt about it, what they think. People are engaged, like people were really really engaged with a lot of the speakers that we had on, and they wanted to discuss it more, and they're like, even had some people, they're like, I didn't even know this was an issue. People even in animal
yeah,
welfare
yeah,
were like, I didn't even know this
mm,
was a problem, or I didn't know how big that problem was.
yeah.
Like,
And actually, that's also the same with Chicago. When we had those two lovely girls on the podcast. They were fantastic and really brave. Both of them were really brave women to
oh
come
yeah.
forward and stand up against a government that was doing wrong.
Hmm. That was
You
a fun
know,
episode too, because
yeah,
I was like, I remember sending you that news article, and you were all on board, like, we gotta get this out, because it's like,
yeah,
they're not going to have a platform. People like that are, they were, just shelter workers doing adoptions, probably, I would assume,
the most important job in the shelter, if you ask me.
but like minimum wage position. You're not high up talking, and we gave them a platform to like tell your story, what's going on, and it got
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of attention,
yeah. No, it did.
and it
Yeah, no, it
feels
really did.
good to give
Yeah.
people a
Yeah.
voice.
Well, I think Peter actually picked up on that, right? Peter picked up on it, which was great. They amplified that message. They amplified their story, and I think that was great. And some of the stuff we heard was horrific and should be investigated by the authorities. It was awful. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I think lessons learned, giving a platform is definitely a key. We need that. We need that. And there are, we shouldn't forget that there are other podcasts too, and
Mhm.
ours was obviously the best. Um, Sorry to the others. I'm just
Now I'm
joking.
gonna get some messages.
I'm just joking, sort of. Um, no, I am just joking. I mean, Dr. G has her own podcast. I should mention Dr. G's podcast. It's fantastic.
Hmm.
So you should definitely go and check that out. Now that we're leaving you guys, go and harass Dr. G. She will, she will love it, and she's a fantastic speaker. She's great.
And she's hilarious too. I love her.
Oh, she is. Yeah, she's fantastic. Very good, very good. Yeah, and her presentation at the conference was amazing.
Oh yeah, on hoarding. I loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it was amazing and interesting too. It was interesting. Okay, so lessons learned. All right. So any more? Any more?
I think the listening piece is, yeah, so
The key takeaway?
key takeaways is listening. I think like that for me, like also kind of personally was a thing too. Because I mean, I always like to think I'm a pretty good listener. I think I am, but when you are a host of a podcast, you are forced into a position where you like intently have to listen and digest this, and
But you
it
weren't only the host; you were the producer.
yeah,
I
I did.
mean, the editor, the LinkedIn page moderator, like, I mean, what I think I want people to understand is the podcast is you, you know, and has been. And so, and actually, I will mention this. I think, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I actually think that your confidence has massively grown in terms of public speaking,
Wow.
in terms of your presence, and probably your technical skills too. Um,
They have improved. That I am 100%. Yeah.
I mean, do you remember the first few episodes?
Oh
Do I
my
have to have a headphone? I'm
God. That's right.
gonna go to
That's right. I
Walmart.
forgot about that.
I'm gonna go to Walmart. I have this thing. It's like 50 fucking years old. It's like,
I showed you my headphones. You're like, they don't even make those anymore.
they remind me of a fucking horror movie, like, from the fucking 80s or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably before that. I think they were your mother's. Sorry, mother.
No, they weren't. They're my
Sorry,
favorite, and I still use them.
you fucking shouldn't. They're awful.
Oh my God. Oh, my cheeks
So
hurt.
lessons learned was one of the things you wanted to talk about. Because we're laughing so much, I forgot what the other thing was already.
So it's listening. This was part of it. It's about Jacob is listening.
That's often the problem.
That's the problem. And having hard conversations with
Yeah,
people, whether you want to have them or not. And
that's true.
yeah, I think those are probably it.
Key
I mean,
takeaways.
I probably think of more, but on the spot, that's it. That's the most
And
important
what was
thing.
the other thing we wanted to talk about? Lessons learned, and you said something else. I wish we could rewind this thing so we can see what you said.
So
Because now I can't remember what's the other thing that you wanted to talk about. Lessons learned.
we already talked about where this.
You can cut this part out.
Yeah, I will.
We'll leave it in there. Waste people's time. I don't know.
Lessons learned and
Lessons learned.
fuck.
What's the other thing? People are going to be commenting and be like, the other thing was this. And we'll be like, was it?
There's a giant, like, 2 minute long gap, and they're like, well, what did they do?
Dumb and dumber. Lessons learned. Honestly, my brain has literally gone. It was lessons learned, and there was one more thing.
I can't remember. What it was.
It should have been listening.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm an awful host. And this is why This is why, ladies and gentlemen, Rae Smith has hosted the AWIP podcast for the last several months. This is a prime example of why.
I have my pen and paper while I'm interviewing people, and I'm sitting here like writing things
I
down.
have nothing other than my cool little studio that
Yeah,
it's not even real.
It's not real. I was like, he like had some like forest or something behind him. I was like, Jacob, like make it more professional. Like you're actually in a studio. Ridiculous. This is gonna be the worst viewed episode. Like nobody's gonna watch this.
Oh no, people would love to see the personalities that are behind this podcast, or the personality that is behind.
These people have no idea what they're doing. They should never do this ever again.
This is the fun episode because it's the final one. So it's the fun one. Would you? Okay, all right. Back on track. Would you ever want to do a podcast series again?
You know, I gave that some thought, and I
know we both have. Right?
I think, you know, it's not like official, it's up in the air, but, you know, I kind of am leaning to yes, but not right this second. Because it's just, you know.
Well, we've done a lot for series one. For series one, we've done what, 20-something episodes?
Yeah. But there's a lot of work that goes into actually doing a podcast and the editing and, you know, working with people's schedules. And, you know, I won't bore you with all the details and stuff but just trust me. There's a lot that goes into it. And it's very time consuming. And like, you got to know your shit. Like, you can't just go on and just start randomly talking about stuff. You have to know what you're talking about. And a lot of times I would like prep people and be like, here's the list of like pre-decided questions I'm going to do, and then there will probably be others. And so like trying to, you know.
No, we didn't do that for this episode, just so you guys know.
No, we did not. No, he sent me no questions. It was just this free for all. I don't even think if I gave you like 6 months to plan, you would have questions written out. I don't. But
that'll be done like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, right. I'm finishing writing all this down. Give me a second. But I really liked giving people a voice that wasn't mine, that wasn't just listening to me drone on and my opinions, and this is, you know, the right way to do things in animal welfare. Like, it really wasn't supposed to be about that. And I think that that's what we accomplished, and people loved coming on. I mean, I'd never even had to like really reach out to pretty much anybody to ask them to come on, because it was just like everybody was so excited about how we were doing this.
It was very natural. Very natural.
Like, tell me what you want to say. What do you want to talk about? Let's do it. Whatever you want to do.
And I think it snowballed. I felt like the growth in terms of the you know, the speakers, the quality of the speakers. I mean, they've all been great, you know, but you know, the quality and the growth and the conversations. I feel like this has been a natural progression of all of that, so which is fantastic. And I think having the virtual conference sort of slotted in there somewhere in between this series, I think worked really well. You know, I think looking back on it, it was good. You know, when I look back on it now and I think about the first episode or the first couple of episodes, which are the only ones you could drag me to, because then after that I was so busy. But you know, even sitting here now, I'm like, oh my God, I've got 101 things to do. No, I'm not. I'm joking. Well, sort of.
No, you're not. You're always busy.
But you know, when I look back on it, I sort of think, and I think, you know, I'm not even sure we had this vision for it. I think it was just going to be us chatting, talking rubbish. You know,
I didn't really, honestly, when it started, I didn't think it was gonna be successful. I will be totally honest. I know I pitched that to you, like, yeah, this is gonna be like great. We're gonna get like all these people. We're gonna know all these people. I pitched it that way, and I was like really concerned that it was gonna be a failure, and it wasn't. And I was.
It wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, definitely wasn't. And I honestly, I really want to say your confidence has most definitely. I think you should watch back some of your first episodes to now. I think you should, because I think you'll see a massive difference. Yeah, you'll see a massive difference.
I probably
So
will.
I just want to finish my sort of questioning and my spiel by really just saying thank you. It's not going to be a question, sorry. And then you'll talk about yourself even more. No, I'm just joking. Um, no, I just want to say I can't even give a thank you seriously enough. Um,
This is why he was not the host.
I just want to say, yeah, a huge thank you. Seriously, a huge thank you. I think you've done really well representing AWIP, and we didn't even call it AWIP before you, just so you know. I think you remember at the beginning, I was like, no, you call it AWIP, and you were like, no, it's AWIP, and I was like, no, it's not, it's AWIP, and now it has become AWIP. Everybody calls it AWIP. We
Yay!
have now rebranded the whole organization. Um, so that was a massive win for you. But I just want to say a huge thank you. I think you've done a magnificent job promoting the podcast. I know as well, like doing all the editing for you at the beginning was like a real new thing. And I know you spent many hours on it with almost zero support from me. So so I just want to say a huge thank you. It's been a great pleasure, having you do this, but also, and I say this not because we're finishing working together, but it's been a great pleasure working with you over the last 6 months, and I really look forward to many more training sessions together, webinars and conferences, and this isn't the end. This is the end of this series, but
Yes.
this isn't the end. So I just want to give you the space for the next minute or so to sort of really just wrap up some final thoughts and congratulate yourself. Talk about yourself, sell yourself.
Oh man, I'm not very good at talking about myself, but thanks. Yeah, thank you, Jacob. That was really nice. And you were always so supportive about it. From the second I pitched it, I mean, you just ran wild with it. I think you like set it all up in the first day that I
Yeah.
pitched it to you. You were so pumped. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And it was. And I know I've said thank you to like every single guest that's come on, but like just once again, like this wouldn't have been possible without people wanting to come on and share their expertise and their opinions, and anywhere from authors and vets and techs and just everybody in animal welfare. It was so every episode was different. It was so interesting. Everybody who came on was so knowledgeable and passionate, and their passion rivaled mine in trying to promote a more humane world through this podcast, and the messaging to people who are watching this, who are listening to this, and trying to get just differing opinions out there, understanding that we can work with people who we disagree with, but it's all in the
Yeah,
end for the benefit of animals. And you look at like right now what's going out in LA with the fires, and it doesn't matter what organization you are, large, small, if you're in Cali or outside, like so many people have come together to support that community, the animals, the people, the owners, everyone, regardless of their, socioeconomic status, or their transient population or whatever it is. And I hope that at least one of the effects that this podcast has had on people who have viewed it, whether they're in animal welfare or not, is that we're all in the same boat in the end, and we're all trying to make a difference. We're all trying to make a more humane world, and the way that we could do that is working together and having good communication. And so listening and making sure that you're not the one shouting on top of the rooftops to get your message out, because listening is just as important.
And I think that's what we've said from the beginning. We have said, you know, we've always talked about collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. A thing we've always spoken about. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, I did say 1 minute and you took like 9, but it's all right. It's your podcast, so it's fine.
Trim it down.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, and I think what a great podcast. What a lovely episode to end on. Hey, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, fantastic. So, so yeah, for the final time, thank you most of all to our listeners who have turned up again and again and again to listen to either me, which is very sad for you guys, or to our lovely Ray. Thank you for turning up again and again and again. Thank you hugely to all of the speakers and guests that have come onto the show. I want to echo Ray's comments and just saying a huge thank you. I look forward to seeing hopefully some of you in person at some of the conferences and trainings and many other things that we're planning. So please do stay in touch with us. Because I think there's a lot more to come than just the podcast, although the podcast has been amazing. So yeah, just a huge thank you to everybody. Ray, 1 minute.
I don't have much to say, but I'm just going to end with our tagline that I made for the past, I don't know, half of the episodes. Spay's the way, baby. Spay's the way.
Spay is the way. Thanks, guys, and see you around.